Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to embark on a journey like no other. Welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast,
your go-to destination for a unique blend of recovery and discovery.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Mark. And in this podcast, we will endeavor to create a safe and uplifting space for our guests and listeners to share their stories with sincerity and a touch of humor.
Remember, we are not a Glum Lot. The Glum Lot Podcast is more than just a source of entertainment. It's a beacon of hope, proving that even in the darkest moments, recovery is possible. Every story we share carries the power to inspire positive change.
So buckle up, get ready to listen, and join us in discovering the strength that lies within every individual's journey. This is the Glum Lot Podcast, where humor meets hope.
All right, welcome to episode number 74 of the Glum Lot Podcast.
74. How you doing today, Mark?
74. I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Just want to remind our listeners to drop us a line at the Glum Lot Podcast at gmail.com and to join our Facebook group at the Glum Lot Podcast Facebook group.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about today?
I'd like to talk about something that evades us when we're early on and prior to coming into recovery, and that is honesty.
Oh, my God. Well, you have a disease that tells you don't have a disease.
That's true.
You'll do anything you can to protect it.
That's true.
Lie, cheat, steal, deceive. The sin of omission, of not telling things, of just... And, you know, the main thing is to thine own self be true. We don't do that. To thine own self lie. That's what we do. So, boy, you know, they say honesty, openness, and willingness. Without any of those three, you're kind of toast.
Yep.
But especially honesty.
Yeah, and that's, you know, even to this day, I can fall back into that.
You know, sometimes honesty can get you to the door.
Yeah.
You know, but you're not going to stick around long if you're not honest.
That's right.
You're not going to get anything out of it.
Yeah.
It's going to be a half measure every time.
And it usually is a result of me trying to get my way or trying to get, you know, through something the way that I want it to, and that usually will involve some lies. And
yeah.
I have to be very aware of that all the time. But thank goodness I have that ability majority of the time because of what I've been through with this program.
And dishonesty and ego walk hand in hand. You know, so it's all about, and, you know, it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
The change. So you need that psychic change. And a lot of that is, you know, surrendering and just, you know.
I think that's a great,
when you surrender,
surrendering.
Right. And you just say, you know what? I'm going to be honest no matter what.
No matter what.
How big of a ding my ego takes.
Yes.
No matter how much of an idiot I feel like. Because you're not. You're being honest.
So I have to
be honest. You're
going to
feel like, honesty is the key. It really is.
I picked my nose today.
Well, I can't deal with that, Brett, so I'm out.
But at least I got it out and was honest. And I got the other thing out, too. But
What's
anyways,
that?
what I was digging for.
Oh.
Anyways. We're not glum.
Am I?
Right. But, you know, it's a very important part of this program, and it's important to everybody around us. So.
And you know the thing is, you know what keeps us from being honest besides ego mainly? Fear. Yeah.
Fear.
It's always that goddamn fear biting us in the ass.
That's right.
That's why we need the faith, right?
That's right.
All right.
You gotta have faith.
Hey, we've got a really interesting guest. Can you talk a little bit about this guest before we bring her on?
Yeah,
Just do a little setup, if you would.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm on socials as well, and I've always fancied, since being in sobriety, going into some of the sobriety groups out there, and I met this person on there. I saw a couple really good posts that she had done, and I was like, man, she's got a good program and seems to have a good story. So, of course, naturally, if we have that going on, I want to meet her, and I want her to talk to us. And so she agreed to that, and she's out in California, and I'm really excited. She's got really quite a following, that group does.
Nice. What is the group?
Well, you're asking me that, but I have no clue right off the top
Well,
of
we're going to
my head.
find out when we talk to her.
Why don't we ask her that?
What's her name?
Her name is Alice.
All right. Well, let's welcome Alice.
Alice.
Welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast, Alice.
Hi, Alice.
Hello.
We're glad to have you with us, and we just want to start with your sobriety date.
All righty. My sobriety date is October 15th, 2013.
Okay. And we like to take it back to your first experience with drugs or alcohol and how you felt.
Yeah, all the details.
Yeah. Gosh, my first experience with alcohol was not a great one because I was assaulted, and
Okay.
Yikes.
I was very young. And I remember thinking at the time, like, peppermint schnapps is bad. And I
Right.
don't want to do that again. And then I tried other substances and other behaviors, and eventually circled back around to alcohol. And when I circled back around to alcohol in my late teens, early 20s, I found it wonderful.
Ooh. So it just gave you a good feeling?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, it sounds so cliche, but like
Yeah.
my shoulders can drop. I'm comfortable
that's-
now.
yeah,
all those
that's
nerve
it.
endings let go.
This
and
is
from that point
yeah.
on, we drink for effect.
Sure. Yeah.
I never really drank socially. I pretended I did,
Yeah.
but it was the effect.
Oh, yeah.
It was the effect I chased.
Yeah.
So we were talking a little bit in the intro about how Brett came upon you, and we couldn't remember.
Well, then I didn't want to totally give it away.
Right. But you have Facebook cred, right? You have some Riz on Facebook.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes, you
I
do.
don't know. I don't know if cred is the right word.
I don't know. It caught my eye. I mean, the stuff you were saying was making a whole lot of sense to me. So,
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, I participate in a lot of groups, and I try to carry the message, and I sometimes argue with people. I try not to argue, but I will find myself doing that too. But really, I want to try to carry the message
as AA,
of Alcoholics Anonymous.
As AA intends it to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, you're a member of a lot of groups. Are you an admin in any of the groups? Do you have any of the
I
groups?
am. Yeah.
Would you like to share the name of the group with us so people can
Don't
look it
have
up?
to. It's up to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'd rather not. I'm not going to
That's fine.
plug the groups. I'll just say though, there are some groups that I feel are stronger in carrying the message than others, and it can be a sordid spot at times when I'll meet people sometimes, and that's their only exposure to what they think Alcoholics Anonymous is, and that's where they get all their information from. And the information is, largely the opinion of other people, nothing really aligned with what AA's basic text says. And so I do feel a certain responsibility to try to cut through some of the misinformation and just share from my personal experience and then the literature.
And that's exactly what drew me to it. Exactly that. Because, when there was any kind of dissonance or anything like that, the message came through you, and that was really cool.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
it
and
does.
these online communities are great for sharing, but like you say, they are not moderated. And when you go to a meeting and somebody says something that is not accurate, they will get the shit kicked out of them.
Do they?
Verbally.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Which people jump on that, especially the old timers. And so you don't really get that online. People can just spout off about whatever they want to. So I get that. But let's get back to your story. So you're in your early 20s and you get that just great, relaxed feeling, and you fall in love with it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So where do you go from there?
I kept drinking. I drank as much as I could, as frequently as I could, because it really seemed to work and didn't seem to cause a whole lot of trouble. And I had this idea that the alcoholic is one who gets very angry or fights or mean when they're drunk, because that's how my father was. And so I was pretty sure I wasn't an alcoholic, and therefore I should drink as much as I can.
Yeah, you were exempt from that.
Yeah. Exempt. That's a really good word. Yeah, exactly. No problems here.
Yeah, you were special.
Were there any drugs involved? Did you partake of anything?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
is it like only when you were drinking though?
Yes. Yeah. In my experience, it was only when I was drinking. Yeah. Absolutely. I couldn't imagine doing drugs without alcohol being present. And, although I was going to say, maybe I qualify for some other fellowships, but alcoholism was my primary problem, even when I did other substances.
Yeah. It was always your go-to. So you're in your early 20s and you're drinking, and
right out the gate. Seems
everything's fine. And where does it go from there?
Where it went from there is I kept on drinking, and then gradually started experiencing some consequences, but it didn't seem so bad. Like it's worth it. I got one DUI. That's not a big deal. Into my 30s, I was drinking more and more, and I had to hide it more because I needed to drink more. I needed to drink during the hours where you're not supposed to drink, like at work. And
no problem.
And I was pretty sneaky, and just kept it going. But over the years, I felt more and more depressed inside. Yeah. And in this time, I was 29 when I met my husband, and no complaints with him, and I had a career I enjoyed, like everything is fine. I have no excuse for drinking. I don't need to numb out. And yet
you're doing it.
I need to numb out. Yeah, exactly. And in all those years, I really thought, well, once I hit rock bottom, I'll stop drinking. Like something, I just need a really bad consequence to happen to me, and then I'll stop. Or I'll just grow out of this somehow.
But so you knew there was something up,
yeah,
right?
Something was a little unmanageable as far as your consumption.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I knew I was drinking. Go ahead.
Oh, did other people say anything to you about that? Like, geez, you really drink a lot. Or
you said your husband was okay?
No, I was okay with him.
Oh, okay.
Meaning I have nothing to complain about. My husband did. He talked to me about my drinking, and I just brushed it off. I had an employer who talked to me about my drinking. I brushed it off. I would just change the subject, and vow to hide it better. And I thought that once I want to stop drinking, I'll stop. Once I finally have that desire to stop.
Because you think you can.
Yeah, absolutely. That seemed logical, because in all those years, like when I wanted to put my mind to something, I would put my mind to it. I could follow through on stuff. I could do what I decided to do. And I figured once I decide to quit drinking, I'll stop. And in the meantime, people need to back off, because I'm still handling everything fine. It's fine.
Did there come a time that you wanted to stop, but you found out you couldn't?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What a confusing blow that is, isn't it? Like,
I know.
Oh my God.
Did you lie to yourself about it? Because I did.
Constantly.
Yeah,
Constantly.
Tough, man.
I had to make up a reason why I drank, because the truth, accepting the truth that, I drink because I'm an alcoholic and I'm powerless not to, that's too painful to think about. So I'm going to blame it on someone else or something else. I'm going to blame it on nouns, people, places, and things.
Right.
So it made me drink. And really, no, it was all me. And I finally did get that desire. Like, I need to stop, and I want to stop.
Why? Like, what caused you to think that way?
Because I was becoming increasingly more miserable and depressed and feeling suicidal, and I couldn't stand to look at myself in the mirror. I was tired all the time, crying all the time.
Meanwhile, you had all this inner dialogue going on,
Yeah, totally.
So your life was getting dark, and you knew it was because of alcohol, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you tried to stop, and was it the kind of a thing where you would tell yourself, all right, today's the day I'm not going to drink? And then by 3 or 4 o'clock or whatever time, It was like
Yeah.
you'd find yourself drinking, and you'd say,
Yep.
I'll stop
How
tomorrow.
the hell did this happen?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
boy, after you do that I did it for well over a year. Still, the denial was strong enough that I could get through it, But like you say, it chips away at you, man, and it gets dark, And so was there a turning point for you with that?
Yes. There was a bit of a turning point in December 2012. I decided to go to an AA meeting.
No kidding.
Why would you do such a thing?
I don't remember why. I have no idea why.
Isn't that
okay, so right? I don't even know. Like, I drank a bottle of wine and then somehow Googled AA and drove to a meeting nearby. And I really don't remember what prompted me to go. And I was drunk, and I was very upset that everyone was happy. And
how dare you want me to get better?
I was like, why do they all know each other? Like, I felt like an outcast, just like they already knew each other's name. Like, it seemed unfair that they already knew each other's names. Rather than seeing like the joy in that, I was like,
did you raise
miserable.
your hand and say, this is my first meeting?
Yeah. Do you know what I said? I said, hi, I'm Alice, and I'm an asshole. Because I couldn't say the word alcoholic.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
asshole just rolled right off the tongue.
It seemed a little more acceptable.
It must have got a good laugh anyway, right?
I don't remember anyone laughing.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like, they might have, they very well might have, but I don't remember. What I remember is I was crying, and a woman was patting my knee, and she kept saying, it's okay, it's okay. And I thought, that's nice. And then she leaned over and she whispered in my ear, I know it's scary.
Wow.
And I recoiled, and I thought to myself, she don't know me, I'm not afraid.
Right, the old alcoholism just kicked right in.
I was so offended by her statement, and I thought, well, these people don't understand shit. And then when the meeting was over, okay, so the way I tell this story, I say that all the women in the room surrounded me and blocked the exit so I couldn't leave. It was probably 3 or 4 ladies. Like,
sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember. I have a picture in my mind that probably isn't accurate. But I do know that they were giving me phone numbers and telling me to keep coming back and telling me to just take it one day at a time. And one little lady gave me a big hug, and she said, please keep coming back. I've been sober for 30 years. This works. Right? And I thought, oh my God, that poor lady.
Been here for 30
she
years.
Is still going to 30 years of meetings. Like, can you imagine? That sounds terrible. And I left thinking I had tried AA and it doesn't work. And
gave it the good old college try.
I'll tell you something, that the meeting that I went to, it's a 90-minute meeting. So yeah, I tried it. That's a pretty long commitment. 90 minutes. And I know I attend that same group from time to time. It's not my home group, but it's a group that meets not far from me. And I'll go there once in a while. And I know for sure that there are people in that room that carry the message. They read the 12 steps. But all that I heard was, keep coming back. Don't drink one day at a time. And so I left thinking AA doesn't have an answer for me because I can't stop drinking. Not even one day at a time.
Just don't drink. Oh, sure. That solves it, right?
Yeah. I still have a dislike for the phrase one day at a time because to me, my reaction to it, at least in the beginning, was that it implied white knuckling. It implied
and you tried
hang
that
in
one
there.
Day at a time thing.
Yeah, one day at a time, just don't drink. And I'm like, okay, I don't like today. And I don't know how to not drink. And even if what I know now, what I was experiencing then, even if I break it down to just today or just this hour or just this minute, I'm powerless. I'm going to go grab a bottle. As tightly as I try to hold on, I'm going to go grab a bottle. I can't stop myself.
You had no defense yet.
No defense.
Did
exactly.
anybody early on talk to you about a higher power?
Well, at that meeting, they probably did. I don't remember what. But yes, when I came back,
so
absolutely.
What did you do after your first meeting? Did you just stay away for a while?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
How long?
Yeah, because I already tried it. For about a year, because that was December. Wow. Yeah, that was December 2012, and I came back into the rooms October 14th, 2013.
Okay. During that time, after that first meeting and in between your second, did you think about your experience there? Did that shit that they say ever pop into your head during that time?
No, because I knew they were all wrong, and AA had nothing to offer me. I already tried it.
Yeah, you had that. Yeah. Made up your mind on that one.
Well, that's really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So then what brought you back the following year?
Did you try anything else in that time? Or did you just go back to drinking?
Yeah. So what I tried in that following year was I started going to therapy, did a lot of work on, stuff, trauma, childhood stuff, because I thought that that's why I drank.
Yeah.
And I must get, I must get to the bottom of that. And I would show up to sessions drunk. And the therapist asked, why don't I try AA? And I'm like, I already did.
It doesn't
And she's
work.
like, okay. Yeah. And she's like, okay. And she, she didn't bring it up again. But I tried therapy. I tried journaling. I tried leaving my wallet at home so I can't go buy a bottle. I would make plans purposely to meet a friend for pedicures after work so that I won't go home and drink a bottle. Mm-hmm. And then I would just cancel the plans. I would go home and get my wallet. So, I couldn't, all the little tips and tricks and boundaries and avoidance techniques that I would set up for myself would fail because I'd just go drink. I could not stop myself.
Yeah.
Would you, at this point in your drinking, were you just at home drinking alone?
No, I was getting to work every day, but I would bring a bottle with me and hide it.
Such good work ethic we have usually.
But you weren't out at bars socially drinking this, or socially drinking. You weren't out at bars. You were a lonely drinker.
Yeah, lonely drinker. Yeah, sad. I told myself I was a partier.
Party of one.
Yeah. So that party was long over.
Was the husband still in this? So how were you able to, did you just drink in front of him, or were you doing things to kind of isolate so you could go do that?
I would go drink in the other room, or like take big gulps in the kitchen before coming back out to the living room. Like I'd hide it in front of him, Gotcha. I remember one time I poured water in my own Chardonnay bottle so it wouldn't look like I drank it. And he wasn't, and see, he's a drinker too, but he's not an alcoholic. And as far as I know, he wasn't keeping track of my drinking.
Right.
But I had this idea that maybe he was, so I should make it look like I haven't been drinking it. And then he's just like, one day he's like, why is there water in a Chardonnay bottle in the fridge? And I'm like, there's water in your fridge. And like, I don't know.
Perfect.
I don't know what, like, I was like just defensive all the time.
Sure.
And
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Can't admit anything.
Yeah.
Sakes.
No.
Yeah, mine was always going out to the garage to do woodworking, and then I had this. I had the 12-pack in the fridge that would always be missing one or two, but in the garage I had 14 bottles, right? So they never know.
We do go to great lengths, don't we? Yeah, we're very good.
We really do.
Yeah. So, was there something that precipitated this comeback into AA?
Not any one event.
Okay.
But what happened was the therapist asked, would I go check myself in somewhere? And I said, absolutely, that sounds amazing. I am ready for help, because I thought I would get to go to like a spa.
Oh, yeah.
Like, like you see on the show Intervention, like
Right,
they
right.
jet you off. And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. And and at the time I didn't have money or insurance for any of this, but I found a place that looked really fancy online, and I called my parents and asked if I could borrow $40,000 so I could go away for 28 days, because maybe I have a liquor problem. And my parents live a couple thousand miles away. So they hadn't seen firsthand, really. They weren't really aware of how much I was drinking. And they said no, partly because they don't have that kind of money, but also because my father, the alcoholic, he found Alcoholics Anonymous back in 1997. I had evidence right in front of me that AA works. It's free. And so both my parents are like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. Like, Dad's like, why don't you just try AA? And I'm like, why don't you try AA? And he's like, yeah, what's that?
I said, go to the free one, right? That's what he was saying.
Go to the free one, right? Right. And I remember being very butthurt that my parents refused to help.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
And right. And so then the therapist found a little detox place that's not $40,000. It's not far from me, and it's just 5 days. What if I do that? And it coincided. It was like my therapist made that suggestion, and it was like the next day at work, my boss is like, you really need to you have vacation time coming. You need to schedule your vacation. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I thought, if I schedule time off for myself, I'll kill myself. Like I can't handle free time.
Yeah.
And I need to just go away somewhere. So I went down to the place that my therapist suggested, and it turned out this was in early September, and they said they had a bed ready for me October 14th. So I said, okay, schedule me for it. And in that roughly 6 weeks prior to checking in, I just stopped seeing the therapist. I stopped journaling. I stopped trying to stop myself from drinking. And it was the most miserable time of my life. Like, I had this idea at first, like, kind of like the mindset of, oh, I'm going to go on a diet tomorrow, so I'll eat the pizza tonight. Like, that's kind of how I was thinking.
Yeah. Great way to put that.
And yet I found out that, when I'm trying not to drink, I'm miserable. When I'm letting myself drink, I'm miserable. Like, I'm so over this. I can't even.
It's the hell of drinking and the hell of not drinking.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So when the morning came that I was to check myself into this detox facility, I was packing my suitcase, and my husband walked in and caught me drinking out of a bottle, which is normal, classy, but to him, like I said, he's a normal drinker. To him, I think it kind of looked like, I've already admitted I need help. He knows that I've been doing all this therapy, and now I'm, so it kind of looks like someone who's like stuffing their mouth with taffy before going to the dentist. Like, what do you want help or don't you? You know what I mean? We look so confusing. Anyway, he looked at me and he said, okay, is that going to be your last drink? And that moment, I was like, fuck. I don't know if I can swear here.
Oh,
I'm like,
fuck,
I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm like, oh, fuck. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be my last drink. How does anyone do that? I mean, I realize, like, I'm checking myself into this facility, but then they're going to let me out in a week. And I know where the store is. Wanting to be sober doesn't seem to cut it. And I don't know what else there is. Like, I literally.
Well, you're not seeing it.
And you were already
not seeing it. I really, looking back on that moment, it felt like the darkest place because I didn't know, this sounds so arrogant. I didn't know that a power greater than me existed.
Right.
Well, I think that's pretty normal.
You had not experienced it yet, so.
Yeah, and you were already planning that next drink, right? Already accepted that there's going to be another drink in the future.
Kind of.
Or could be.
I wouldn't say I was planning my next drink because I didn't want to. I didn't want to drink, but I knew I couldn't stop myself.
Gotcha.
And so it just seemed completely bleak, like how I would love for this to be my last drink, but it seems like it won't be. I am just fucked. And I had this feeling that I'm checking myself into this facility for nothing, just for 5 days of, not having access to alcohol. And I'm just going to go back to my madness. And so there's no hope. 0, 0, 0, no hope. And we get down to the facility and they led me back to my room. Mm-hmm. And there was a cat sitting on the bed, which is a bit of a surprise at a facility like that. And also, I am a crazy cat lady.
That's another thing that I noticed and I liked about you is you're a cat person like me.
Yeah. And so it felt like a sign from the universe. Like it felt like the cat was placed there for me, and it felt like a sign that I am where I'm supposed to be. And I fell to my knees and I started crying, and I thought, is this, I don't know if I tell the story like this. And I don't remember if this is how I felt in that actual moment, or maybe it was, shortly thereafter, looking back on that moment, but just that, is this what people mean by God shots? Like, is that what this is? Can this be that? And I didn't know this was what the detox was going to be about, but it was right next to an AA meeting. And I know. And I'm like, wait, I already did that, but they shuffle us on over there. And once again, I'm still drunk, or feeling buzzed, at least that uncomfortable feeling of the buzz wearing off. And in that meeting, everyone was really nice. And they knew each other's names, and some of them had 30 years. And I was like, all right, then. I sat all the way down. I heard the word God with different ears first time in my entire life.
Sure.
It felt like I finally had that first step experience without knowing the words in the big book. I fully conceded. I can't control it. I can't stop myself. I don't enjoy it. That I'm thoroughly defeated. And in that state of complete brokenness, I was able to hear people at that meeting. I do not remember what they said, but I remember the way I felt. Like, it just felt like, okay, here's an answer. Like, maybe I'm not so fucked.
You got a little hope.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
What was how was your physical detox at that place? It was hard?
It wasn't.
Really?
I'm laughing at this because I don't know why. I mean, I drank very heavily around the clock. I don't know why I got off so easy, but detox was like a breeze. And there were other people in the same facility who were screaming in the middle of the night and really going through a tough time. And physically, I just felt better and better each day. I thrilled.
Thank goodness.
I couldn't believe how much better I felt physically within just a few days. Mentally, obviously, still
sure,
I'm struggling, but physically, I was oh my gosh, amazing.
Were the meetings a daily thing?
Yes. Yeah.
So at the end of the week, it's time to go home. What happened?
Yeah.
She threw open the doors, the sun was shining, and she was cured.
Exactly. It was all rainbows and kittens from there, there on. So I don't remember this, but a friend who was there tells me the story that on the day of checkout, he said that I gave him a big smile and said, I'll see you again real soon. And he's like, oh, okay, like this one's crazy. But what he meant was like, I wanted to hang out. I wanted to hang out with the fellowship. I wanted to go to meetings. And what I did is when I came home when I was discharged from detox, I came home and I changed my clothes and I'm like, I want to go back down there. And my husband's like, oh, okay. I think he even came with me because it was an open meeting. And I very quickly fell in love with the fellowship, particularly the group that happened to meet next to this detox. Just an amazing group of people who are super funny and talk about the big book and talk about God and recovered, and they laugh a lot. And I don't remember much of what was actually said during that first week, but I do remember I had the impression that recovery is going to happen between meetings. Like I need to go to a lot of meetings, but there's also a lot of work to do, which made sense to me because I knew I was suffering from something much bigger than meeting an hour a day is going to change.
Right.
And so I wanted to just like hang out with these people as much as possible, but also get into the steps. I had this feeling, I was given the impression somehow, or I formed the impression that everybody was taking the steps. So the first time I heard someone share who's like, I have 60 days and I haven't found a sponsor yet, I'm like, what? Like
Did you find a sponsor?
Yep.
Pretty quick.
Oh my God. The day that I checked into detox, when I was still drunk, a woman came up to me and said, would you like me to be your sponsor?
Jeez.
And I said, yes. I was drunk and crying and probably babbling about a cat. Like, I don't know. and she, I found out later I was her very first sponsee.
Oh, wow.
But she made the approach. Like she walked through fear to just march up to me and say that. And so, yeah, like I jumped into the steps with her, started meeting with her after I got out of detox. It was not all smooth going. At one point I switched sponsors, but I stayed in
close.
the work. Yeah.
And you were able to stay sober this whole time?
Yeah.
That's amazing in itself.
Guzzling out of that bottle as I was packing for detox remains my last drink.
Jeez.
Wow.
And that's not like, yay, Alice, because
right.
if I could have done it, right? Like if I could have done it on my own, I absolutely would have. Like,
oh yeah.
But it blows my mind that that's been my experience. It's not me.
What do you attribute it to?
God.
Yeah. It's, it's pretty amazing that you had that spiritual experience on that first day. It was gifted to you.
Like yeah. And well, I'll tell you something though. So a couple days before I was to check into that detox, I received an unexpected bonus in my paycheck at work that exactly covered the cost of the detox.
Okay,
exactly.
Right? Cool.
Like, yeah, that doesn't. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, right.
Like it didn't. So
looking back now,
it had no effect on me. I was just like, oh, that's good. And so I really think that God was like, all right, I sent her money. That didn't work. So I guess I'll have to send her a cat.
Yeah, here's the cat.
Well, yeah, it's very hard to be grateful when you're an active alcoholic. You just aren't grateful.
Yes.
And you learn that in the rooms, I think. And it really, that's, the whole thing about the gratitude list and just experience any kind of gratitude is such a gift. It just makes your life so much better. Just that one simple thing.
Grounding.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about your online community, the communities that you're involved with, because I'm a member of a lot of groups. I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook because I'm old. And I didn't grow up with it. I didn't grow up with social media, so it's still a little foreign to me. There's a lot there, a lot.
Oh, man.
I mean, there's just sobriety groups. There's got to be thousands, right?
Oh, across all the platforms?
I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Are you just on Facebook with that stuff?
I also have an Instagram, but I think that's the extent of my social media involvement. But I found through Facebook it is a good place to meet prospects, to meet newcomers who might need help.
Yeah.
I've met several people that way who I then got to meet with one-on-one, and some of them stick around and have taken the steps and start helping others.
So are you in is it like a local Facebook group from where you live that you're able to get together with these people?
No, these are like World Wide Web people.
Wow.
It's it's I mean like the groups I'm in are international.
So how do you find people that you can meet when you say face to face, do you mean online or in person?
Oh, yeah. When I say meet one-on-one with, I mean like usually through Zoom.
Yeah.
Meet one-on-one. Yeah.
Nice. So you virtually meet them. Is there such a thing as virtually sponsoring someone?
Yes.
No kidding.
Yep.
I've never heard of that before.
A Sherpa's a Sherpa. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
of course.
That is neat.
You're just guiding,
Oh, yeah.
right? Yeah.
And so, and they go to meetings where they live, and you go to meetings where you live, and you meet up one-on-one. And do you go through the steps and all that stuff?
Yeah,
wow,
absolutely.
I've never heard of that before.
And there's one on Reddit that I belong to. It's Stop Drinking. And it's fantastic, and it's so active, and it's one of those good ones, right? Everybody's very involved with giving explanations, and I see that stuff all the time, because somebody will come in there and just lay it out. I'm done. I'm going to die, all those types of things. And then, those of us that are willing and able are there for them, and then that starts the relationship. And then you can see the progression too, right? They'll say, I remember coming in this room 5 years ago and what this group did. You look at you. I mean, I wish everybody could see her smiling right now, because that's exactly what happens, is because you see, the impact. And thank goodness that we have the reach that we do now, right?
Yeah.
Compared to the past.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, even with, podcasts haven't been around that long.
Right.
But we get comments on our thing about people are like, oh my God, your podcast really changed everything for me.
Help me understand my son.
I can
my
listen
husband.
to it. When I can't get to a meeting, I can listen to it. All these different resources, including, very, very early on, it kind of happened with the Joe and Charlie tapes.
Oh, yeah.
That people could put a cassette in their car and listen to it.
And relate to real life circumstances.
When there wasn't a meeting.
Yeah.
And it wasn't clinical, right? Or, somebody on the other end that has an education but doesn't have the experience. Then when you talk to counselors, and this way it's real. We're listening to actual stories, and we're talking with actual alcoholics and interacting with them on social media.
Yeah. Have you ever started a Facebook group, sobriety Facebook group, from like scratch?
I have not.
Yeah.
No.
So you've just joined in and became the admin of one or two or whatever. Yeah, we have a Glum Lot Facebook group.
Yeah. Still very new.
Yeah,
right?
It's new, but it's growing, and people do put comments on there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, and thankfully the ones that we have received are thank yous, right?
Right.
Or but we're trying to get that interactivity going, but that's not really what it's about, is growing our page, right? It's just getting people involved and getting them the help they need and interacting with each other on that sense. But it's a pretty cool thing, the impact. I always think about how AA spread without this and how incredible that is, right?
Right, just from word of mouth.
Oh man,
in
like every forward
medical
read,
institutions,
it's like exponential.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When there's such a desperate need, I know that early on there were doctors that would say, well, you might want to try especially to like back then, spouses.
Yeah.
There's this new thing called Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, it works for some people,
right? Yeah.
And it is so huge now. But so it really interests me that you can meet somebody online and only have an online relationship and have it work, alcoholic to alcoholic. That is just so cool.
I agree.
Right?
And I think if you're doing sponsorship correctly, it can definitely work.
Yeah. Are any of them in different countries?
Yes.
Nice.
Really? Where? Can you tell us?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, I've worked with people in the UK, in Australia, Mongolia for a little bit.
Holy cow.
Canada, even.
Even Canada?
I know. Can you believe it? Doesn't get more exotic than that.
Right.
No, I'll tell you something. When one of the Facebook groups that I've been active in, a couple of the guys who were moderators started doing an AA meeting on a platform called Zoom.
Yeah.
Back in 2017.
Wow.
And
before COVID,
Yes, and I would comment because every week join our Zoom meeting, and I'd be like, maybe, like, I was like, that sounds dumb, and they started posting about, hey, if there are any newcomers here who can't get to a physical meeting, join us. And the two guys that started the group did so because one of them has a disability where it makes them unable to get out to face-to-face meetings. The other guy is a caretaker for a loved one, can't get out to face-to-face meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided to start this together, and people would join. And they even talked about how they got to help others take the 12 steps through this platform called Zoom. And I was like, that sounds like half measures. And then March of 2020 comes around, and I'm like, oh, can you guys show me how this works?
Right. I can see where this may be valuable.
Right. And when I realized in March of 2020, at whatever point, we kind of collectively realized that maybe we're not going to be meeting in person for a little while, I became open-minded to the idea of helping others using Zoom, whether it's somebody who lives in my local community because we're just not seeing each other face to face in this climate, or wherever they live. Doesn't seem to matter because
I get so hyper focused on the local meeting, but I don't, surely there's people out there that are infirmed or people that are caretakers like that, or just don't. I've been to places where there's only a meeting like once a week, if that.
Yeah.
And so, geez. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
And AA survived World War II. It survives, whatever's thrown at it. It's just, we have to find a way. That's how important it is in our lives. And this whole Zoom thing really blew up, not just for AA, but for everything, really. I know my kids are on, kind of on it for school, but, I know that there, the AA groups that were spawned out of the pandemic still are going. And people like them, I've never been a fan myself, but I was probably like you used to be. I just was like,
No, the sponsorships got your ear, though.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure.
That you can use that platform like that. So now, you've sponsored other people, I'm assuming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Both live.
You mean besides on Zoom?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What message would you have for somebody who was in the spot that you were in? I mean, your higher power brought you to that rehab, obviously. That was put in your path. But, boy, some people just, I've had sponsees that have died that have just never made that connection that you made, no matter what was put in their path. What message would you have for a woman that was in the same position, or guy?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for anyone who is struggling, who's baffled by the fact that, you drink again despite the love you have for your family, despite the consequences, despite how strong you're trying to be. My message is don't beat yourself up, because that could just be alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a way out that really works, and a way out that makes sobriety peaceful. It
is that.
Yeah. I had to get to that place where I fully experienced my human power failing, and then I became open to a power greater than me. It's just about having an open mind. I didn't have to say I believe in God now, or I know who God is.
Mm-hmm.
Just had to have that open mind about it. And the steps that have worked for however many millions of people, almost 100 years, maybe it'll work for you too.
Yeah. Awesome message. Well, we want to thank you for coming on and telling your story and sharing with us. And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are like, oh, AA exists on the World Wide Web too.
That's right. And, man, fantastic stuff you're doing. That's all I can say.
Yeah, keep it going.
I saw it and I was like, yep, she's carrying the message just the way it should be. So,
all right. Well,
awesome.
So until next time on the Glum Lot Podcast, I'm Mark.
I'm Brett.
I'm Alice.
As we wrap up another episode of the Glum Lot Podcast, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you who tuned in today. Navigating the path to recovery from alcohol and other substances is a journey filled with challenges, triumphs, and self-discovery. Remember, we're not affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous, but we're here to provide a safe space for open conversations about the complexities of recovery. Your stories, courage, and resilience inspire us and our listeners alike. If you or someone you know is on the transformative journey, know that you're not alone. Join us next time as we continue to explore the diverse facets of recovery. Until then, stay strong, stay connected, and remember that each day is a step towards a brighter, sober tomorrow. Thank you for being part of the Glum Lot community.